Welcome back to my Wise Stars channel. If you happen to be wondering why tomorrow's full moon in Cancer is unlike any other full moon in Cancer we've ever had, then keep watching. So on January 13th of 2025 at 2:26 Pacific Time, 3:26 Mountain, and 5:26 Eastern, the full moon in Cancer is going to be exact. We have a full moon in Cancer every year, pretty much after Christmas. And it's really interesting, like all of astrology, why we have that full moon in Cancer after the holidays. And so whatever you celebrate in the Northern Hemisphere, the time of December is generally a holiday time. And after the holidays, we are tired. So this full moon in Cancer shows up to illustrate this tension point. And full moons are always going to be a tension point because they involve opposite signs. So when you have that bringing together of opposites, there is both a sense of attraction, but also there's a repelling feeling to it. And the full moon brings up this relationship between two opposing signs. And it asks for both an awareness of those opposite forces, and it also gives us the opportunity to integrate and bring, kind of stretch ourselves and bring more of ourselves to the table by integrating these opposite signs. So in tomorrow's full moon, we have the sign of Capricorn over here, and the sun is in Capricorn. And then we have the moon in Cancer over here. So for those of you who might be new to astrology, the moon's ruling sign, or the Cancer's ruling planet, is the moon. And the moon's ruling sign is Cancer. So the moon is really at home in the sign of Cancer. And we're going to feel that emphasis of those Cancerian themes and archetypes that show up. Keep watching, and we will explore each of these components of this full moon tomorrow. So the sign of Cancer, Cancer is a water sign, and it is also a cardinal sign. So the cardinal signs are Aries, Cancer, Capricorn, and Libra. And so the cardinal signs are signs that begin or initiate movement, action, projects. They bring a great deal of leadership into whatever environment they're moving through. And Cancer, as a cardinal water sign, leads the way in emotions, creativity, imagination, and instinctive sort of impulses. Cancer is also known as the sign of the mother, and this can be any kind of mothering. It doesn't actually need to be a physical child. It can be a project, an animal, a garden, any kind of life that you are feeding and nurturing and caring for falls under Cancer's domain. So Cancer, as many of you know, is a sign of the crab. And when we think about crabs, crabs are ocean animals, and they move through the ocean in kind of a sideways pattern. So this is going to be really relevant when we dive more deeply into the meaning of the sign of Cancer, because when you think about emotions, emotions can be very indirect. You know, we may not know why we're feeling something or where it's coming from. There's not really a sense of logic associated with emotions. They come when they come, and we can create space for them. We can run away from them. We can repress them. We can ignore them. But feelings are going to be there, and they're going to show up in ways that might come across as being a little bit sideways. So sometimes our feelings arise for us in our dreams, or they come out unconsciously. And this is very in alignment with the way that a Cancer crab moves through the world. The other thing about crabs is they have these hard shells on the outside, and they've got these pinchers, these claws that they use. And so, because Cancer is so very sensitive and receptive and just really taking in on a very deeply emotional level the world around them and also their own internal world, Cancers need defenses. They need to be able to protect and put up some kind of shell around them so that they have a sense of their own container, their own domain. And that's another piece of the Cancer kind of profile, is that Cancer is very tuned into their nest, their home. In astrology, Cancer rules over the fourth house, which there's 12 houses in the zodiac wheel, and each one is associated with a different sphere of life. So Cancer sphere is the sphere of the home. It has to do with roots and our ancestors and whatever it is that feels safe and secure and nurturing. And then we have Capricorn on the other side. And so where Cancer is that sign of retreat and safety and taking care of that deeply emotional self that needs time to digest and process and dream, Capricorn is the sign that is about navigating the external world. How do we move through the world? What are the tools and the skills and the resources? What are our dreams and our goals and our projects that we're accomplishing or setting our sights for? So the Capricorn season comes at the time of the year where that holiday season is sort of wrapping up and we're ready to get back in the world and begin to make things happen. When we have this Cancer Capricorn full moon, there's this tension of opposites where part of us wants to get out there and be doing, accomplishing our goals, making progress, feeling a sense of momentum in the world. Meanwhile, Cancer's over here feeling worn out. There's a lot of output that happens over the holiday season. And the Cancer's feeling that desire to pull back, to rest, to retreat, to nest, to get cozy. So just checking in with yourself and, if you're feeling some of those feelings in this moment, this full moon can be a really good time to check in and see, where's the balance between these two opposites right now? Have I been out in the world with my armor on, fighting for this next time and place, or am I taking the time to rest and recover and nurture myself and get a nest in my own comfortable, cozy places? So that's a little bit of the overview of the basic Cancer Capricorn full moon. And now I want to orientate you to this year's particular influences, because as I promised at the beginning of this video, this year is different. And I want to share with you some of the influences that are making this particular full moon in Cancer of 2025 so much different than any other year. So first up, we have this Mars retrograde. And Mars is currently now retrograde in the sign of Cancer. It moved back from Leo into Cancer. And if you want more information on that particular movement of Mars retrograde, I do have another video that's available on my channel. And I'll put that link below. So Mars retrograde, and it's retrograde in Cancer, and this particular full moon that we're experiencing on January 13th, the Mars retrograde in Cancer is right up next to the full moon. So in astro language, we call that a conjunction. And a conjunction means with, they're fused. And this is a fairly close conjunction. The planets, maybe they're not maybe like this, but they're like this, Mars and the moon. And when two planets are moving together, it means they're moving as one. There's more impact, there's more power, and there's more energy because there's a joined forces. And in this case, the two planets in question are the planet of emotion and intuition and that internal realm, all of this Cancer theme. And then we have Mars, the planet of fierceness, the planet of protection of our warrioress self. And it's how we move through the world, and yet it's going backwards, which intensifies and deepens and brings that movement of Mars energy inwards. And it also focalizes it. And so the moon is for the next day or so hanging out with Mars there. And so there is so much potential for extremely explosive emotional expression, whether that be externally or inwardly. There's a lot of feeling happening right now. And this kind of combination really brings to me this archetype of mama bear, that there is a fiercely protective kind of tone to this, of really taking stock of your people, your place, what feels like home to you. You know, who's involved in the home, and what the land is. You know, how you are connected to the land you live on, and there's a sense of wanting to protect that fiercely. So that's one element. The other piece of this is that Mars is currently out of bounds. And I also talked about that in another video I did earlier this month. So Mars out of bounds, any planet out of bounds, is going to make that planet unexpected. There's a sense of surprise and eroticism. We don't quite know what's going to happen. I talked about it being like a Uranian energy, and Uranus is the planet of the trickster. So there's this sense of who knows what could happen here. And so we've got that going on with this Cancer feeling. So there's a very strong kind of clannish energy, and a willingness to fight, a willingness to, in the more shadowy side of this couldn't be fighting when people don't necessarily want you to fight for them. So being overly protective. So if this is kind of a direction you might be moving in right now, just noticing that and being with yourself around it, checking in. I also talk about this moon as being a lunation that helps us understand how we might need to defend our right to dream, to imagine. Because one of the elements of the sign of Cancer, besides being the mother, is that it's also the sign of the child. And whether this be your own, physical child, maybe they're young or maybe they're older, a child you care for, or if it's your inner child. With the sun in Capricorn, Capricorn representing reality and practicality and survival, opposing this very soft, sensitive moon in Cancer, which is exacerbated by the Mars retrograde out of bounds, there is this sense of how do we allow ourselves to continue to be innocent? How do we allow ourselves to dream and imagine when the external real world seems so challenging right now? How do we have hope? How do we sustain that childlike softness and openness to the goodness of humanity? So these may be some questions that are coming up for you also right now. There can be a temptation with the sun in Capricorn And we also have Chiron in Aries is squaring both of these planets, the sun and the moon. So there's actually a T-square happening with Chiron in Aries, and Chiron is the wounded healer. In Aries, there's some woundedness about our ability to protect and defend and our sense of ourselves and our sovereignty. So with this lunation, part of the piece here is remembering to take some time to tend and nurture either that inner child part of ourselves or a child around us who needs some extra care right now. And what some of the helper planets that we have that are involved right now, and Mr. Rogers said, look for the helpers. And so, astrologically speaking, we're looking for the planets that are making softer aspects. So it's how can we access the energy or the power of these other planets to bring in some support and softness to the places that need it. And so in this case, we've got several helper planets. We have the planet Neptune, which is in Pisces, also a water sign, and it's forming a very close, what we call a trine, which is a gentle, soothing, easy aspect. It gives Cancer kind of another form of water to add a sense of compassion and caring and non-judgment to some of these emotions that might be coming up. We also have the nodal axis, and the nodes just today have moved into the north node is in Pisces and the south node is in Virgo. I'm going to do a separate video to get into that in more detail, but just simply to say that that shifting of the nodes with the north node of growth and evolution collectively is now in the sign of Pisces. So this is about all of us collectively cultivating a greater sense of compassion and connection and understanding of our shared humanity, and also calling on spiritual resources to support that shared humanity. So that's one of the helper planets. The other helper planet is Uranus in Taurus. And so this is an interesting one because Uranus is that surprising, tricky, who knows what's going to happen, but it's also innovative, and it's got an ability, almost like a magician, to create something out of nothing. So Uranus in Taurus is forming a sextile aspect to the moon, and it's trining the sun. So this allows us to deal with reality in new ways, and it also gives us a sense of uh, possibly kind of glimmers, of ideas that we might not have thought of how to bring things into a different direction. Some remedies, some plant remedies, and I'm going to be bringing in both the herbs and the flower essences. The flower essences are more energetic medicine, and these are really safe to take, that there's no contraindications with any kind of other medicines because they're energetic. And so, three flower essences that I will recommend during this time. One is pink yarrow, which is really helpful for filtering out emotions that are not ours. So if you're picking up on some of the collective emotional feelings right now, pink yarrow can just help you recognize this is mine, this is everybody else's. I can bring compassion and kindness to the table, but I don't need to feel that too. I can just feel my feelings. So it's kind of the staying in your own lane flower essence. The next one that I want to recommend is Mariposa Lily. And Mariposa Lily is such a beautiful flower. I've made flower essences from Mariposa Lily high up in the mountains. It grows really well at high altitudes. It's a beautiful wildflower, and it's just so gentle and soft and soothing. And Mariposa Lily is really good for nurturing yourself, for bringing that mother consciousness inwards and allowing yourself to soak up all the care and the love and the nurturing you need from the divine, but also from yourself. And if you're feeling burnt out mothering other people, Mariposa Lily can be a really helpful and supportive flower to bring into your life. The other one is Century, and Century is a classic Virgo essence, whereas Mariposa Lily I associate more with the sign of Cancer. Century I associate with Virgo. And Century is for when you have a hard time saying no to people who need help. And it's good to help people. I feel good when I'm helping people, but sometimes I don't know my own limits. And so Century helps you know when you've overextended and you're saying yes is starting to breed a sense of resentment or bitterness, or you're just you're getting burnt out. So Century helps you set up some boundaries and give kind of a gentle no. And then finally, I want to recommend, if these are all separate flower essences, and you may need to do a little work to blend them if you want to blend them, or you may just want to take one at a time. But I also like, there's one of the companies that I've used for years and years is Lotus Way, and they make a really wonderful blend called Divine Within, and it has some flower essences that are so good for self-nourishing and just bringing a loving, gentle presence into your life. So those are my flower essences. For herbs, I want to recommend a blend of catnip, rose petals, and and you can either use tulsi, or if you're okay with chamomile. Chamomile is also going to be an herb that'll be really soothing for this time. And this is what I call my inner child blend. It's catnip is good for calming you down a little bit, but also kind of taking that, if you're feeling cranky or moody or irritable, the catnip and the chamomile can be really helpful for that. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and check back in for future videos on the North and South Node change into Pisces and Virgo, which will be coming up soon.